When I was at Westside, and the time I was in Westside was, let's just say it's the Dimmerst years. So I was there a little bit before the Dimmerst gym location, when it was a Dimmerst commercial gym location first. Then he closed that down. Then he went to Solvent. So that's when I came to Columbus, was the very end of that commercial thing, which, I mean, there was an area in the back for the powerlifting, but it to me, it wasn't like a Westside barbell at all. No, the Solvent thing was a fucking dump. It was a big dump. Thank God that didn't last long. It was anybody that trained there will know what I'm talking. It was a fucking dump, but it worked, so who cares? It worked. Lasted about a year. And then the Dimmerst location was, I don't know how long, a decade, maybe a little bit more. Then when Louis moved the gym to where it is now, I was there maybe a year or two. I'm not too sure. So I see my time at Westside as being that Dimmerst location. When we were in that Dimmerst location, we never trained with gear. Rarely, ever. I never saw anybody wrap their knees the whole time I was in that Dimmerst location. So we're easily a decade. Never once did I see anybody wrap their knees. Briefs, we would train in light briefs. A bench shirt towards the end. We might have put a bench shirt on once, maybe twice before meet. And that's towards the end. I mean, before all this, we would get the bench shirt, put it on, see if it fit, see if we could touch in it, and then not use the shirt again until the meet. And then if the shirt worked for that meet and you're in the same weight class, there's no reason to use it again until the next meet. Squat suit, the same way. Squat suits never, in the gym with the straps up. When I was there, actually the suit bottoms weren't even used, so I think that hurt us when we got to a meet, because granted, we didn't know any different. So we didn't know, and nobody was bragging about their carryovers. After a meet, nobody was running around saying, hey, I got fucking 400 pounds out of my suit and wraps or briefs and all this. Nobody ever really talked about that. If anything, people were downplaying it. No, I don't get shit out of this. So you don't know, you really don't know what other people are getting until you see them, switch gear, or they go from, this type of suit to this type of suit, or to a poly to a canvas, or whatever was at the time. And then their lifts start going up. And then you start seeing people that aren't stronger than you are beating you, and by a lot, especially on the bench, for me. And it was like, fuck. I don't know why we didn't put this together. I don't know why we didn't put it together. Towards the end, I think, we started putting together. After I left, they definitely figured it out. But most definitely it would have helped had I had more reps in my squat suit, straps up with wraps, 100%. So that would have been something different to be able to put in there. The other thing would be, those two are big. I think those would have taken, I don't want to sit and throw numbers out, but those would have got me well over the number that Brian was asking about, I believe, and I don't think anybody that is a multiply or has ever competed in a multiply would disagree with that, because the squats, not just I was making, but hell, Louis as well. I mean, he squatted 920 and it looked easy as fuck. He definitely had more. So what would he have squatted, had we used gear more, got used to the gear more, and those type of, who knows? So those, I'm going to put those two as the biggest thing. Training wise, I think that was pretty well set, just based upon what the max effort lifts were and stuff like that. Obviously there were probably some exercises that didn't really benefit me that I don't want to say that exactly. There were certain max effort exercises that I don't think helped me at all. And suspended good mornings being one of those that I never got better at them, but all my other lifts would increase. So that's one indication that tells me this isn't really doing a whole lot for me. If anything, if it didn't stay at whatever the shitty ass number was, 455, if I couldn't do that and it was off that, then I knew something was really wrong, but it should always be there, but it never really went higher than that. I would have pulled those things out, put other things in there, but that may have had more ill impact than just doing them, because we trained as a team. So it's, you're training in a group, so there's a group dynamic that's associated with those years for me, a huge group dynamic, just the competitiveness, the aggressiveness, the tribalness, whatever you want to call it, the teamwork, whatever that was, is a huge factor. And if I'm not doing what everybody else is doing, then you're removing probably the biggest factor that was associated with that time period for me above everything else. So I'm conflicted on that one, because suboptimal as far as what that movement may have been for me, is becomes optimal when you look at more than just the movement, because in training there's more components than just the movement. There's rest periods, there's how the training plan's laid out, how the program's laid out, who you're training with, all these other factors kind of play into that, to where the exercise selection, yes, it's important, but I could debate that it's not as important as most people make it out to be. On to the next question. What's your favorite thing about the S5 compound compared to S4? So for those that don't know, that would be our business location that we're in now compared to the business location we were in previously. The differences there are pretty vast, because the previous location we didn't own, we were renting it, and it was a fucking dump. I loved the weight room, so the move, there are multiple reasons for the move. The first was, it sucks when somebody else is in charge of keeping your building fit, safe, not leaking, all the other kind of shit. When that falls on somebody else's plate, they don't give a fuck about doing it, then you end up paying for improvements for things that you shouldn't be paying for. And if you're paying for them, you should probably own the place. So that was a variable, that was a factor. And then rent increasing was another factor, because it's like, we can have our own fucking place and pay less than what this is. And then instead of just throwing the money away, actually building in the worth of an asset. The third was staff. For instance, everybody was shoved in. We had three offices mainly at the old place. So you had, three people shoved in one office. Another person's desk was in the hallway, and then four people in another office, and 4 or 5 in another office, and another one in a hallway, and another one that was actually a desk in a closet. So it's not the best environment for recruiting staff or even to work in. So for me, the biggest improvement, or thing that I like the most from that location to this location, is having better work environment for staff. 100%. That was what kind of closed the deal or sold me on the whole idea of this. I'm still getting used to the gym I love the other gym. I love just the dirtiness, rust, fucking possums and bats and birds and all kinds of shit of that place, and it just being a big clusterfuck. And we were there for a long time too, so that part I'm still becoming acclimated, you know, after all these years to where we are now, which is great. I'm not putting that down at all. But that's the answer there.